I got you.
Yeah.
Really made really cool event spaces out of it.
Yeah, and those are especially nice too, because then you can have the columns break up the space and the views and all that.
The stress of the world.
Why didn't a whole lot there? Let's call meeting to order. Approval of last month's minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Is Michelle Cox here?
I don't see her,
Okay.
Chairman.
Okay. Well, we will move forward. Michael?
Okay, thank you. Not too much in terms of comments here from government affairs. Well, fortunately, no acknowledgements this month in terms of retirees. So that's a good thing. Let's stick around for the next month or two. So we'll see. I think we have somebody next month, or next meeting, will probably be acknowledging. But government affairs, state, we're hopeful of seeing something out of the veto session here this week. But since we do not have a bill filed in language, it's not anticipated the House will act on the Senate bill that was moved forward. There's still discussions about, again, language and revenue sources. The only thing that I feel confident of is that, language for the downstate funding situation will be addressed as part of that, but whether something actually moves during veto session, cautiously optimistic, but if it doesn't happen, I would not be surprised. So keep the board updated. Hopefully good news will come at the end of this week. But we'll see. On the federal side, not much to report. As you know, the government shutdown continues. The positive there is that at least the FTA continues to be funded and staffed through the shutdown. So all of our disbursements for funds continue to flow, and nothing is interrupted as a result of the shutdown. So that's a positive note. With that, we can move into the regular part of the agenda. First up, we have our finance section. Payment of bills. Included in your packet were the invoices for Williams McCarthy and services rendered through September 23rd. Were there any questions on that? If none, we can move on to the approval of the accounts payable invoices included in your packet for this month, which totaled $2,203,244.41. If there's any questions related to those items, I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the, what do we call this? The invoices to be approved by the board.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Then moving on to the unaudited financial statement for September, included in your packet. Memo accompanying that from Xavier. Were there any questions on that, or anything else, Xavier, you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to add, Xavier? No? Any questions?
I had one. I think this was on, let's see, it's the second page of that report for the category of other non-transportation revenue fixed. It was just a big variance there in terms of this like 681% above budgeted, and granted it's not a small or a large amount to begin with. That's the one that was budgeted $5,000 in one, and then went up to 39. So just curious what the line item is and why we're seeing that jump.
Where is it at? I'm sorry.
This is on page 2 of the budget variance report. It's like the, let's see, like 4th item down.
We'll find out. Other non-transportation, what's the total? I'm sorry, 13?
39,070.
Oh, for the year,
For the
right?
year, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I was, sorry, I was looking at the wrong column.
Investment.
Yeah, so it must have been something that happened a prior month. Like this month looks pretty well in line, but.
Yeah, I can look into that and provide you detail on what that was, but it was from the previous month. I don't know off the top of my head, without looking at it, what that is, but I'm happy to look at that.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind taking a look, just curious why the jump.
Variance. Any other questions?
That was all I had. Motion?
Approval? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the unaudited financial statements for September.
Second, all in favor?
Great, thank you. And then we'll move on to the pension portfolio review through October 21st and the investment statement ending September 30th. Jeff DiBenedetto is here to brief us on that. So with that, Jeff, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me here today. It's good to see everyone. Aaron provided in your packet 2 reports, the third quarter ending September 30th, 2025, and then updated numbers as of last week. I will start with the one dated in the lower right-hand corner, the September 30th. If you turn to the second page, this is the quarterly summary slide that says impact of diversification that gives us the comparison benchmarks, if you will, to give an idea of what the market has provided and kind of where we sit in the world. I've highlighted our portfolio is closest to that 50-50 portfolio, which year to date through 9/30 was up 11.7. If you turn the page, then you'll see our actual results through 9/30. The upper right-hand corner, portfolio returns, you can see net of turn, we are 8.8%. Going back to the left side, we started the calendar year with just under 32 million. We've had the full contribution funding for the pension. Ending value at 9/30, just under 35 million, up just under 3 million, 2.8 million on the year. So, overall, it's been a great year. I'll, in a minute, go through some of the individual holdings and maybe a reason why we're lagging a little bit to the benchmarks and the changes that we made to improve that moving forward. On the fiscal year, if you turn the page, we've got a great start to this fiscal year. So 6/30/2025 through 9/30, we're up 3.3% so far. So in 3 months, we've got a nice head start on our goal to get over a 6% return for the pension as far as our target goes. I think I mentioned it, so then going back to the overall portfolio and changes before I get into the updated numbers, we did replace one of our small cap managers, our small cap growth manager, Wasatch Investment Management. They've been managing small cap growth for us for a long time. Last year they lagged and then the portfolio recovered. This year it's lagged and not. So for us it was time to make a change. So in that category we replaced Wasatch with Vanguard. We elected to use an index, a blended index fund. Blend means that it holds a combination of growth-oriented stocks that are small cap and value-oriented stocks. So a little more diversification, a little lower cost, and definitely reducing the risk a little bit in that category for now. Interest rates coming down, which we'll talk about in a second, helps smaller companies because they carry more leverage. But with the growth we've had this year and rates really not moving much, they've struggled. From a category standpoint, the winners so far year to date, large cap, big company stocks are up 13%. International stocks are our best performing asset class, still up 17%. We've talked about that last time I was here. Bonds are up 6%, so bonds are doing well. And our alternatives in our portfolio are up 13%. So overall, everything is really winning except that particular asset class, and we did make a change there. So moving forward, we will see hopefully some better results. Moving then to the October 21st slides, we gained in 21 days another percent roughly. The market continues to chug along, kind of led by AI and tech. Nobody seems to be concerned about some of the economic detractors that I'll go through in a second. So as of the 21st, 35,201 in the pension portfolio, up 9.7. And then again, progress on the fiscal year, up 4.22. So are there any questions on any of those results? So as far as the economy goes and things that we're continuing to watch, the government shutdown, 27 days in, it's the second longest shutdown, and it doesn't seem that there's any real motivation to end that anytime soon, so we have to keep our eyes on that. The trade war, which is supposed to lead into inflation, we certainly aren't seeing that in the economic numbers yet, which is a good thing. This morning, the news was that we have some temporary negotiations with 3 of our Asian neighbors, especially China, so we'll see how that unfolds. That should help. Interest rates, the Fed is set to meet again this month, and then they would meet one more time in December. The market is priced in that they're going to lower rates 25 basis points, so I suspect we'll see that happen. The interesting thing is with the government shutdown, though, we're not getting any jobs reports, so that helps the Fed decide what they're going to do. So we'll have to wait and see what happens maybe in December. And the inflation report came out Friday. Inflation is tame. It's lower than expected. It's still higher than the Fed's target goal of 2%, but without some data that suggests runaway inflation, the Fed's going to lower rates likely, and the markets will continue to go up. Is my guess. So, and then, I talked about that. So, overall, we're going to probably see some more volatility through the end of the year, especially with all that's going on in the government shutdown. But we should probably retain our earnings that we have so far, and we'll have to kind of gauge what goes into next year. The one thing I did want to note is since the change in the small cap fund, we've added 110 basis points of return. So for right now, that was a good strategic move. So, great.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Sounds good, Jim.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
And no meeting next month, so happy Turkey Day to everyone.
All right, now we'll move into the operations report. So including your packet, Dan's memo and the statistical report. Dan, you want to walk us through those segments?
Yeah, you'll see in your packet, obviously, our normal ridership numbers. Overall, September to September of '24, we were 4% higher on the fixed route side. Paratransit, we were pretty flat. Mathematically, it's about 1% less compared to last year. Fall service changes went into effect on the 13th of October. Overall, things went pretty well. We had plenty of staff here. The phone rang, but surprisingly, not as much as we thought it would, which tells me we did a pretty good job getting the information out there to everybody. So we'll continue to watch those numbers and be able to give you a report on the impact of the changes next month. Vehicle maintenance report is included in your packet as well. Everything seems to be going well. Good vehicle availability on both sides. I did want to point out that our peak demand, or our vehicles in maximum service, it went up increased 3 from 28 vehicles maximum at one time on the street to 31 with the new service changes. So it has put a little bit of a squeeze on our maintenance guys to make sure we're planning for that on a daily basis. So overall, we're handling it well. We have plenty of vehicles, but I did want to point out that the demand for vehicles is a little higher now with the new service. Facilities reports, as I've been talking about the last couple months, and we did a lot of work with the new service with signs and shelters. Now we got to get back to the point where we're taking the old signs down and removing the information we put up in the shelters back out, so that we can get those cleaned up before winter. And then seasonal shelter cleaning by our contractors started. I don't know if you guys noticed, but some of them are bright and shiny right now because they just got cleaned. So we have a contractor do that for us. Project report, facility is going well. We did include our owner's reps report in your packet again this month. We're starting to hit a little weather here, so the garage doors are going to be here next week. So once they get the garage doors in, we should be able to seal the building up pretty well. Eventually, we'll have to have some temporary heat in there because they won't be able to drywall and paint and a couple other things without a little bit of heat in there. So they're pouring a bunch of concrete today, the rest of this week. So demand response software on the paratransit side, we had 258 rides booked through the portal. SMTD has just kind of got that information out. There's a few people signed up. I don't think we're seeing much on that, correct, Roy?
Not yet.
Not yet. So we're hoping that that kind of takes off. Training sessions with Boone County BCCA are pretty close to done, and we're pressing them to get a go live date for them to start using the software as well. Telephone system replacement, we're having weekly meetings with the contractor. They're saying about 8 weeks to complete it. We're gonna bump into a little trouble with the holidays, with some of our staff not being here, and then, you know, you kind of lose part of the week of Thanksgiving and then Christmas, so we're trying to squeeze it all in there, so. But it is moving along quite nicely. East Side Transfer Center, cameras and security, that project is pretty much done. We've tested everything and
We've tested everything. There's a couple little cameras that's giving us some problems. We're gonna have that resolved this week. Door systems are operational, cameras are operational, just remoted into it from down here. I think it's amazing.
excellent. All right, thank you, Drex. Mobility management RFP, we went out, we did me, Mike, and Troy, with some help from Paula. Sat through presentations and he did an evaluation of the people who had submitted bids, so we'll be asking for approval on that here a little bit later. ComEd shelter project, we had a call with ComEd last week. They're getting ready to order the shelters. We're working on getting the right-of-way stuff worked out with the Park District for Brown Park. ComEd's supposed to let us know, and unless I wasn't here last week, so they did not get them ordered last week, I don't believe. Okay, so as soon as they get them ordered, they're gonna let us know. Won't be here till the spring, which is fine, because we won't put them up this time of year anyway, so. And lastly, the DCEO shelter grant is in the process of being executed. It's gonna release $165,000 in funding for shelter purchases. Once we receive that, we'll go out to bid and tabulate the results and bring it back to the board for approval. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
No questions, just comment for the facility expansion, that it's always great to see the progress each time coming over here, and then, obviously if they're doing concrete, it's not a great time for a walkthrough, but I'd be super interested in doing one,
Sure.
you know, prior to, you know, if framing's up or something, just to be able to,
Okay.
maybe for the board, for us to go through and see what's what in the layout.
Yep.
And how things are
Yeah,
going
once
on.
they get these last sequences of the interior concrete pour, it'll be a lot easier to walk around over there.
Yeah,
It's a little messy over there right now, so.
yeah, they probably don't want us in their concrete.
No, they're very particular about who gets to walk where, so.
Sure.
So, yeah, no, we can certainly arrange for something, maybe at the next meeting, because it should be enclosed then with a little bit of heat. And by the time we have our meeting, if we did it either before or after the meeting, they're done working at 3:30 at the latest, so there'll be nobody working anyway, so easy
Yeah,
to do
it'd
that.
be good to get you over there. Yeah, the stairs in and, you know, the interiors and the concrete, it makes it a lot easier to navigate the thing and walk around. So we can get that scheduled, happy to do that, it'd be great.
And then it sounds like the switchgear is back. We shaved a couple months off to be able to get that sooner.
Yeah, our last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, they're saying it's supposed to ship now from, we believe, Texas on December 22nd, which pretty much means it won't be here until the week of Christmas, which means it's gonna sit for a week, and then hopefully get started on it right after the new year. So, and that's,
Better for it to sit here then.
yes, it'd be nice, and that seems to be the date that they're pretty firm on, is shipping on December 22nd.
One thing related to that we'll note that we'll be bringing forward at the next board meeting is that there's an opportunity for us to seek a rebate from ComEd as part of the charging infrastructure, the actual back-end electrical infrastructure from the switchgear and cabinet and so forth. And trying to finalize the details on that, but it's additional funding that we can bring back into the project that ComEd's offering. So I will have all the details at the next meeting. There was an opportunity we'd like to pursue and see how we can leverage that and how we can partner with IDOT to supplement the funding for the project. So more details on that, but that's an exciting opportunity. We can partner again with ComEd on something they're offering as a regular part of their public and business sector EV program. All right, no other questions with that then. Oh, just as a side note, I'd like to thank George and Eric Rashans for updating their maintenance slides and a little bit more visually easier to look at and you can see the data and the changes that we have in the report this month. So I hope you noticed that too. All right, so moving on then, we'll go to the HR report, claims history for September 2025 included in your packet, and trending down for September and fiscal year to date. Any questions on that information? All right. If none, then we'll keep moving along. Onto the marketing report. So, marketing memo provided summarizing this month's activities. Orlando, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah. First, we have, we'll mention that in the the third line item, but what I mentioned in the paragraph is we completed our survey that we gave at the end of the summer. So me and Brandon will go through those findings. But past that, we finally got some images for our EduRide campaign that I've been promising you guys the last couple months. These are the street side signs and the tail light signs that we will have on the buses to display. We also have a landing page on the website. This time we kind of added something different than we usually have for our landing page, which is frequently asked questions. Kind of got some of these ideas from what other agencies have used on their websites and what has been, and did some calling around too to see what was effective for them. So just trying to implement what, kind of the agency standard is with that. So this kind of how it's going to look, trying to get a younger, fresh, while also an educational look for individuals of all walks of life who are still pursuing post-secondary education, and let them know that we have this free program for them. So I feel like the individuals that we used that created these images did a great job of kind of capturing that, while also showing, kind of the basic information. So that's what that looks like. That's what is included. Along with that, we talked about outreach and the list of things that we have going on. Right now, a big hit for us been our mobile IDs, going to different facilities and helping individuals who may not have the easiest time of getting here or to the east side to print IDs to arrival free. So that's your senior citizens, along with, you might see as well, a veterans event for IDs for them as well. So we did one last week, and we're going to do another one this Friday to help veterans. And we partnered with the VAC to cover the cost for IDs for that. So just trying to get out, trying to continue to push these programs and let them know that there is resources for them to ride our services, along with doing presentations to teach people how to ride the services. So that's kind of been a big initiative for me, is just help people navigate the systems and also take advantage of the programs that we do have for them. Another note that was not in the memo, we will also be doing not a special service, but we will be taking the trolley out to the Discovery Center in November. So kids can come out and take a look at it. It's part of a Mr. Rogers kind of initiative event. So they asked us to go out there and do that. We won't be transporting anybody, just passing some stuff out and letting the kids see one of the coolest vehicles that we have. So that's a part of that. On Thursday of this week, we'll be having a trunk or treat. Well, not having it, but we'll be a part of a trunk or treat, the annual one, the biggest one that Rockford has, that the police department puts together. So that's Thursday from 5:30 to 8 at the RPS building. So if you come on out, we'll have a bus decorated with lots of candy for the kids. So any questions about the memo or anything like that?
Sounds good.
Cool. Moving on, we do have a special service request, which is Stroll on State. I'm pretty sure we all are pretty familiar with Stroll on State and what that entails. We will be asking the board for approval for Stroll on State again this year. I do have some tidbits within the letter that needs to be noted. So there were some things that were listed in the letter that were a little bit off. The first one I wanted to note was the location of Bethesda. It says 2101 South Alpine. It's actually the Bethesda on East State. So that was not on South Alpine. It also mentioned a possible stop at Rosecrans this year. So every year we do 3 stops. We try to hit the various points of Rockford to get access for everyone. We won't be doing the Rosecrans, but we will be doing the West State Crusader Clinic. That's not listed in here, but we won't be doing the Rosecrans. Took an evaluation of that, and me and Cedric will be looking at that again next year, but we just thought it'd be best to do those 3 for this year. Also it listed kind of the 10-minute shuttle service. Really gonna be more like 20 minutes. Just looking based off the last couple of years and reality with traffic and blocking off streets and stuff like that. So just little things, but we want to kind of make it as accurate as possible when getting your approval. So we have some more details if needed. If you guys want to know a little bit more about sponsorship, we're really listed as a partner. So we still kind of benefits from being a partner as well. Marketing benefits, being listed on maps, being listed on getting the landing page on their website. So we're still seeing some benefits of being part of this, but not being listed as a sponsor more so as a partner. And for example, the city is also listed as a partner as well, and the Rockford Park District. So we're kind of in that group of partnership. So yeah, same thing as we usually do, provide service from 1 to 10:30. We list 10:30, more like 9, depending on weather and depending on really after the light show, people go home. We don't stay that late. So we'll list it, but we'll provide service as needed, but that's kind of a more accurate depiction of what we'll give. So yeah, just providing that service. We'll have a couple paratransit buses along with our fixed route service. And we won't start with, they ask for a certain amount of buses. We'll start with a smaller amount and then kind of divvy that out the further we go, because we have to take care of our daily service first. So we also make sure we cover that. So yeah, just look for the board approval on that to be a part of Stroll on State and provide the shuttle service for it.
Yeah, I would make the motion to approve the request for Stroll on State.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you so much. Lastly, survey. So me and Brandon from R1 have been working on, just completed the survey project that we did at the end of September, or at the end of the summer. 4-week survey that we really wanted to get customer feedback. Last survey we did was in 2023 that we noted previously before. Yes, pretty simple. We had 231 responses, a little bit down compared to 2023, but we did give the option to have a QR code to have virtual responses as well. We also listed kind of the routes and the sections that we rode and were at to disseminate the survey. So in 2023, we had a couple more bodies, probably had 2 or 3 more extra people. This year was just me and Brandon, so we really tried to capitalize on those transfer points and those high ridership routes so we can kind of get our bang for our buck. So that's why you see, a smaller portion, but really some good coverage when it comes to that. So, pretty self-explanatory of why we wanted to do the survey, to continuously get that updated feedback from customers to see where we're at a great time period before we put the fall service changes in, and then we'll do another one after that. Try to get this yearly to really see that feedback. So that's why we did it, and then Brandon will go into a little bit of the findings and kind of what we saw.
Yeah, so just some additional things to consider as well. I apologize, on the slide, I put that it was 232 responses. Basically what we had did was we had administered a lot of paper surveys, and then we had the QR codes as well. It was offered in English and Spanish, and we had 3 Spanish responses. One of those responses was online. And so what I would do is I would take all of our paper surveys and input them into Survey Alchemy where the survey was being held. That way we could look at the results of it more easily and stuff. So that is just a Spanish survey that's been converted into English. So the total is 231. But yes, and then I guess, we didn't have that many surveys submitted online, but I should also note that we had an incentive of a free day pass for those who did the in-person survey, but we didn't have any way of distributing that if there was an online response, so we weren't able to give that incentive.
Yeah, unless we were there right there with them, but if so that's, we feel like that's why.
It was a little bit.
The physical paper copy.
Most responses were
In person.
Yeah, it's a large response, yeah.
And on this, the second slide that is the flyer that we had up in the buses, as well as at the transfer centers, as well as some bus stops, some of the busier bus stops. So diving into some of the findings, basically what I tried to do here was showcase what the highest percentage was for each of the different questions. So that would be the darkest blue, all the way down to the lowest, which is typically not shaded in with anything. So as you can see for the 2025 ratings, the vast majority of responses were still in the good and very good categories. We did include not applicable for the first 10 questions, which we didn't previously do in 2023. So if you're looking at those results, you can see there's 0% for those ones. And then I would say kind of the most descriptive slide for the comparison is this third table that kind of has the red and green. And what I try to do here is showcase if there was a decrease in good or very good ratings, I would highlight it red or like a lighter red. And if there was a decrease in poor or very poor, I would highlight it in green. And then vice versa, if there was an increase in good, we would also highlight that in green. not doing any highlighting to the average or the not applicable because it didn't feel like it was as important. But basically, across the board, we did have some dips in the very good ratings. I think in the vast majority of cases, that tended to mean also an increase in the good ratings. So maybe just people weren't feeling quite as very good about everything, more of a 4 out of 5 than a 5 out of 5 on some of these. I'd say one that sticks out to me is maybe dipping a little bit is the perceptions of safety, which is question number 7. It looked like we kind of had a bit of a decrease across the board in some of the better ratings for that one. So that's definitely something to look into. But just to note, over, I think it was around 77.5%, which is listed in the memo, rated the overall RMTD system as good or better on this one. And about 2/3 of all of the categories as well improved in the poor and very poor ratings compared to 2023, which I think is also a positive highlight. But yeah, so if anybody has any questions about the tables, please feel free to let me know, or if anything doesn't make clear sense or anything like that.
No, I think it makes sense. Just, disappointing to see that we lost some of our very good standings on that.
Yeah. And how we were looking at it was like, the very good with this is like perfect. It's kind of, that's the highest you can get. So, if you're not perfect but 4 out of 5,
Strive for it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think the other note that Brandon in Orlando had made is just, in those first 10, in the next time we do this, we will include the NA in there to kind of force a decision on there, because I think we lost some people making decisions as a result of that.
Yeah.
In that. So
Yeah, because you see the NA go up, like number 5, for example, is 5%. So most people probably interact with the facility in some way, but decided not to respond there. So
Absolutely.
Let's keep going, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so then, jumping into some of the other individual questions, a lot of these were very similar to what we had asked in 2023. So, looking at how riders use the system, we still have a lot of people who are using it to commute to work. About a quarter of people aren't still. One of the questions that we added in here that was not in 2023 was a direct question asking them if they use RMTD to get to grocery stores or other food sources. And I really think that kind of potentially played into the responses for where they typically go when riding with RMTD, which is a select that all that applied. It was a select that all that apply question. We saw a big jump in the shopping, as well as a pretty decent jump in recreation, but a lot of the other stuff was fairly similar to 2023 in those regards. So
Just real quick, just noted that work trips were up about 3%, so at 53.7% of folks noted that they use the service for work trips, and 11.7% sometimes for work trips, so combined total of nearly 2/3 of our ridership is using it for work-related trips. So I think it's an important note and talking point.
it'll be interesting too to watch just the education one over time too when we do this in 27 with the new initiative as well.
absolutely. And then, just jumping into some of the travel characteristics, fairly similar to 2023 as well. There's a slight decrease in the amount of people walking to and from their bus stop, but it's still the vast majority of people are walking to and from their bus stop. We added in the question to ask how long on average it takes them to get to and from their bus stop. I believe over 55% of the respondents said that it takes less than 5 minutes. And then there was a smaller percentage of about 6.1% that said it takes them longer than 15 minutes, which is quite a distance. But and then the final question for the travel characteristics was how many one-way trips each of them take. And I should note that this is a question that kind of garnered some confusion among some of the respondents. I think they think more so of their trips as being round trips all the time. So I think we might try to look at how we can kind of change that to be a little bit more of a user-friendly question in the future, but also fairly similar numbers to 2023.
And that was a good thing too that we learned from the survey was just kind of the jargon used within the building along with, what our passengers may understand. And I mean, a good amount of passengers did understand some of it, but at the same time, some of the words like fixed route or that one-way trip. So for the next time, we know kind of how to, tailor those questions or those words to be more, digestible as well, which is great.
Which I think is nice too, that you're having the interaction with them at some of the facilities to be able to have those conversations,
Yes.
to know what's getting, maybe tripping people up.
Absolutely. I think it was a lot more effective for us to be able to hear it
Yes.
firsthand than have all the responses be, say, online and not be able to get that kind of face-to-face interaction. And then when we asked about service hours and if there's any time throughout the week when RMTD isn't available when they need it, there were some decreases, specifically a 10% decrease in the weekday daytime / early AM, as well as a decrease in the Sunday night late PM with about 5%. There were some respondents, there was actually a lot more respondents that selected other in this. In those cases, the vast majority of those were just not applicable or none. There was like a few responses where respondents highlighted holidays as being a day when they need it, but other than that, it was mostly just that there wasn't any time when it wasn't available, that they needed it. And for the alternative modes, we saw a rise in the percentage of riders using carpool or rideshare if RMTD service isn't available, as well as not having an alternative if it's not available. And then we had a couple open-ended responses, which we tried to, I think in the last survey, we kind of had a lot of different options, and we kind of said select 5 of the things that you think are most important to for RMTD to prioritize. And this time we left it a little bit more open-ended, but we still tried to bucket up some of those, responses. And so like the majority of them ended up being related to service frequency and reliability, such as buses needing to come more often during the day or having better coverage throughout the city. And then in terms of the top locations that RMTD should prioritize adding bus service to, this was very distributed across the board with the vast majority of respondents just not really having an example or just listing NA. But, some people talking about the east side as well as around the Cherryvale area, Loves Park and Chesney Park. So some of these, I think there's definitely service to a lot of these places, and maybe it's just an education piece. But fare prices, it looked like very similar to 2023 as well. The majority of people still think that the service is a good value. And the vast majority at least think it's a fair value or better, so I think that's a good sign. And then how people would prefer to receive service updates. I don't know if you wanted to speak to that one, Orlando.
We saw, at least when I was talking, I saw a lot of people that, they still get it the traditional way, but I did see the uptick in text, which is very interesting as well. Like you see the difference between 2023 was 19% to now 2025 is 29%. I think we have a total a little bit above 1,000 individuals who have subscribed to our app, which allows them to get notifications anytime we have service updates, delays, cancellations, all of those things. So I think that's where you see that difference is. And that was a kind of a big thing for me as, the marketing manager to see and kind of see where we can focus on and really get information out. So
When they subscribe, are they getting the updates then via the app or via text?
so it can be both,
Okay.
right? You can you'll get one on the app as soon as you log in. You'll have the notification, but you can also opt in for text and email as well. And that's the first question that's prompted when you subscribe.
Yeah.
So.
And then, we had some optional demographics / social characteristic questions, and we just highlighted a couple of those here, which is the amount of operating vehicles the respondents have in their household. So less people had 0 responded that they had 0. However, we also had a large uptick in prefer not to answer, so more people that just didn't want to answer that question. The same goes for if the respondents have a driver's license. It's somewhat similar numbers, but we saw a decrease in the amount of people that said no, and a pretty significant increase in the amount of people that preferred not to answer. And finally, we had the comparison of where the respondents reside within the city, and it looked like we just got slightly more diverse results. I would say we had a little bit more even distribution among some of the zip codes that are abutting the transfer center, and got even some out further east. So, somewhat similar to 2023 in that regard. But yeah.
Any other questions?
No, it's helpful information, good to see. I did have one question. Do you have a sense of what the percentage of our monthly ridership this represents? Like, how representative is the 232 responses?
Good question. We would definitely love to get a higher amount. I think we kind of small did a percentage. It's not the greatest percentage of a sample size. I think survey standards, it meets that percentage, but it's not quite exactly what we wanted.
Yeah. With surveys, I think you always want more, but I know it's, just to kind of gauge what percentage of our riders this is. It looks like.
Yeah, we had talked about just kind of what we thought was a representative sample.
Yeah.
And going back to just a little bit of history, going back to the route study that we did prior to 2018. There was one done in about 2011, 2010, somewhere in there, right? And the consultant had about 200 surveys, which our ridership back then was about where it is now, and they said, well, that's more than a representative sample. And so we've kind of been on this assumption that if we get more than 200, that's a pretty decent little sample size for that. And it's kind of interesting, I don't know how many of these, another question would be how many of these people filled the survey out in 2023 as they did in 2025 as well. So it's kind of the question of, do we get some new and different people that are providing us feedback on this for the same?
Sure.
So, yeah, it's a good question. That's one thing that we talked a little bit about, is trying to understand what that number looks like. So,
thank you.
Appreciate those questions. Appreciate, Brandon and Orlando and all their work they put into executing this, and certainly we've shared with staff, and it's something that, it's important to baseline and make sure where we're at and what those perceptions are, and be mindful of what seems to be ticking up or ticking down, and as we continue to be focused on all of those areas, look for those opportunities for improvement in the projects and things. So it'll be interesting, particularly in service and reliability and all those things, what we see the next time we go out and survey to see where that ticks down, because obviously the areas of which we surveyed in are all areas of which we've invested in additional service. And so look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I think it's, not an uncommon response. I think anticipated that people would want additional service. So it does feel like, even though maybe it's not to the point we would hope, it's expanded service and ticking away at that goal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. All right, moving on then to the safety report. Memo included for the board's review. Data, any questions on that information for this month?
Just noticing a few more accidents than we're normally seeing in the report. Is there at 7?
Well, looking at them, most of these were from some new drivers training, and some have just been not paying attention and just not spatial awareness. So that's where most of those have been, unfortunately.
And just, so usually when somebody gets in an accident, we take them back in and retrain them, especially our newer people. To say they're minor, I don't want to be dismissive of the fact that we had 7 inside fault accidents in 31 days, but
They were minor.
luckily they were all minor with no injuries, so we're thankful for that. Obviously, a few people need retrained.
Most of them were bumping mirrors instead of things, scrapes, those type of things. These minors hit a pole.
So we'll continue to monitor that, obviously. It was noted that we had an uptick, but that was, as we dug into it, it was more of the folks in training that were counted there as well, and so many folks just came out of training. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that for next month. Any other questions?
Next month's already looking better.
So if none there, then we'll keep moving along. On to other business. So first off, we have, first item is approval of a construction change order. Dan or Paul, you want to touch on that?
Go ahead, Paul, I talked enough today.
Oh, great, great. Well, the fire department has now required us to do upgrade to a portion of our existing fire sprinkler system. So to accommodate that, Scandrolli went out and gave us a quote on how much it would cost. We had both our project manager and our contracted architect look at that, and they decided this was reasonable, the price. We will be sending it, our project manager will send this to IDOT because this is all state money. This has to have IDOT's pre-award concurrence before we can do this change order. So it will go to IDOT and they will do this. And then if they approve and you approve, then we'll be able to award this to Scandrolli. Obviously the amount was $62,087.12. This would take the contract with Scandrolli up to $30,083,599.59.
Just to note, that's within the grant award amount that we have, but not within the contract, so this is contingency that funds this. No longer.
I would make a motion to approve the change order.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, then we have the award of the bus collision avoidance system. Dan, you want to cover them?
Yeah, so, our last couple of hybrid builds, we had a system put on, it's called Mobileye. Basically what it is, it's cameras, on the back two corners, exterior of the bus. So it's kind of a blind spot detection. It picks up bicyclists and pedestrians. So, so our last two builds, we had those systems pre-wired because it's a lot easier to wire it when the bus is being built than it is after the fact. We ended up paying a couple years ago for full systems on three vehicles to test them out. We like the technology. It is part of an FTA directive on pedestrian accidents, pedestrian strikes. So basically what it does is, as you're turning a corner, if it sees somebody parallel with the bus who may cross in front of you, there's some stuff up on the dash that gives the driver a warning. The other side of it is, through some software, it can track like where these events are happening. So you can actually go in and say, okay, maybe there's an intersection where there's a higher probability that something's going to happen. So we can look at what can we do, you know, maybe even ask the city, hey, can we change the traffic control here, or the pedestrian crossing, or, you know, we're seeing a very high number of potential incidents happening in this area. So the technology is pretty neat. So what we're asking for is, like I said, these vehicles are already pre-wired. We're asking to go ahead and put the cameras on 11 of the 12 vehicles that have not been done. I'm sorry, 8 vehicles, my apologies. The cost to do that is $68,000. And we'll use some leftover discretionary NOLO funds to cover the cost of no local capital being used. So staff is recommending and seeking board approval to issue a purchase order to Roscoe Vision in the amount of $68,000 even.
I would make a motion to approve the purchase order to Roscoe Vision for $68,000.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along, we have the award of the mobility management study. I'll cover that.
Thank you.
So we were previously awarded $150,000 in state of Illinois planning funds to conduct a mobility management study. This was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago that we were actually
It's
awarded
been a long
funds.
time, yeah.
It just took a lot of time for it to make its way through the approvals of IDOT. It's a technical analysis and helping RMT develop strategies for a mobility management program. We'll be working with R1PC in this effort. Really, this is focused on our human services transportation plan, looking at ways to develop strategies that focus providing service to the individual customer, improve coordination and communication region-wide. So not any, well, it's basically with any transportation entity, provider, locally nonprofit social service agencies, working with them along with all of our other public transit providers in one of a coordinated effort. And so these strategies have been implemented statewide in other locations. We're looking at a more regional approach. To move this forward, we went out and advertised in a request for proposals back in August. We received those in September. The vendors included Chastain Associates, RLS Associates, and SRF Consulting. Prices ranged in those proposals from $53,000 to $119,000. The evaluation committee was Dan Troy, and myself. We brought in each of the three vendors to do presentations. Following presentations, we reviewed the proposals based on the criteria set and scored those, and ultimately selected SRF as the best fit for the study that we'd like to have conducted. Their proposal was for $119,100. And as such, because of the fact that we have $150,000 that were allocated for the study, depending on how the study goes, the need for any changes, we would like to ask the board to award the study to SRF Consultant for a not to exceed amount of that $150,000 to conduct the study. Questions?
So they would have the contract value for their 119, but then for any potential change order that may pop up, it would be approved up to 150.
Yep,
Got it.
correct.
And I want to say the 150,000 is planning funds, so we can't use it for anything else. So this mobility management study is the only thing that the 150,000 can be used for.
And no local funds are needed.
I would make the motion to approve moving forward for the mobility management study to SRF Consulting.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next item, we have the award of office furniture for the facility expansion project. Paul, you want to address this one?
Yep, we went out, we advertised the bid, and we actually got 3 bids in, and well under what we had the estimate as, which was really good news. Out of the 3 bids, Atmosphere was the low bid at $186, $178.81. And this is a low bid, unlike the last mobility study that Mike mentioned. So we would like the board to approve this award to Atmosphere for the $186, $178.81.
Questions?
It's 100% federally funded, so this does not need any IDOT approval. It's basically, and it's within obviously the budget, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase order with Atmosphere.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Next item, we have UPS additional Sunday service request. Discuss and take any necessary action. Memo handout, just wanted to brief you on this and get some direction. We had been contacted by UPS manager at the Rockford Airport facility to discuss how our service aligns with their schedules, and they have some upcoming peak season schedule changes that they were looking at. We're trying to get an understanding of how they think fit together. Through discussions, realized that we didn't match up on their big Sunday morning service sort that they have at 9 a.m. With our service, and from that asked us if we could take a look at adding a trip on our 7071 Amazon route to meet that shift time. We took a look at our ridership, they took a look at their usage out there. They were estimating they at least have 50 folks on Sundays that would utilize that service to get to work. Based on our review over the last 12 months, we've had over 15,000 rides to or from their 2 stops out there, so a pretty significant amount of ridership to the facility, and roughly that comes to about 70 rides a day that we estimate that we are regularly seeing out there. So good hefty set of ridership. They're anticipating even more growth as a result of their increase in staffing for the peak season. We reviewed the cost of that to add just those, it's a trip from the downtown transfer center on the east side of the community that circulates and gets down there, and then one on the west side. Total cost of that, local share would be about $2,923 for 12 Sundays, which is, they're looking at just that peak season operation. Since this is something that falls outside of our regular service change process and something that is short-term to some degree, wanted to bring to the board's attention and ask for approval to make that change and add that over the short period of time for that cost. Based on the ridership and the fares that we receive from that, it's reasonably close to the local share amount. So it's a little bit different in that, you know, we don't have typically local employers reaching out specifically for something like this, but since it's one trip on a Sunday and looking at the service schedule, we can cover it by adding on to our earlier morning Amazon trips, because we actually have a gap in there between when those first trips run and when our regular service starts up, so that it doesn't create really a staffing issue for us. We can just reallocate the people that were on the earlier morning to fill in this one, and then we start our regular day of service around the same time. So it seemed like something that could fit in that we could assist with, and so we're asking for the board's direction on that and approval if that's something that they would like us to do. And from a budget standpoint, I should also note that because we originally budgeted to start the service changes in September, we do have budget salvage between September and the middle of October that would more than sufficiently cover this expansion service. As an aside, we are having some conversations with them about potentially looking at an unlimited access program. So this, I think, would factor into some of those discussions as well. And if that could be advanced, we would certainly bring that back to the board as well. So that's something we want to also mention, is there is some interest in doing what we did with Amazon now that we've got that up and running, as an example. So continue to have those discussions with them. See where that takes us. But in the meantime, want to be responsive to a large local employer of ours who recognized the need to provide access to their employees and who reached out and wants to partner.
Yeah, I think they should definitely do it.
Yeah, and I like the approach though of maybe for future things, approaching it the way we have with Amazon, just keeping it, you know, consistent across the board for employers. Since it is within our budgeted amount, feel comfortable doing it for this year without necessarily that agreement in place, but.
Help people get to work.
Yeah.
So just have a motion to approve that.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve adding one trip on both the 70 and 71 routes on Sunday morning for approximately 12 weeks for UPS.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that brings us to executive session. Before we get to that, I'm going to discuss the next meeting scheduled for Monday, November 24th. As we've previously done, we typically try to match up the November and December dates to conduct one meeting that has the the audit presentation that we're required to bring to the board, and that typically is the beginning of December, first couple of weeks. So we don't have a specific date and availability yet, if I'm correct, from our auditor on when they will have it done and when they'll be able to provide us. So seeking the board's direction, if they'd like to combine the meetings first, and if so, then we'll look to coordinate with you, and we'll get back to you once we get the auditor's dates to figure out what matches up.
Yeah, I think you've been doing this long, Pastor Jay, the joint November, December meeting. Is that what, yeah, has that worked well in the past?
Yeah. What are we anticipating?
Either the first or second week of December at this point.
Yeah, it's typically on the first or second week in December.
I think more often than
More
not,
often the
it's
first.
been the first.
First week.
I'm assuming it'll most likely be the second week that they'll be coming back with, because I won't be here the first week either.
Okay.
So, this, the board's availability, the second week of December, I guess, is it?
Yeah.
Question.
Okay, so this is what I need, to see if Ricardo could attend that meeting.
Yes, yeah,
And if he can't, then I make arrangements to be here. But
Yeah.
I'm anticipating a
Yeah.
baby,
yes.
Recognizing
the
that,
second week.
the chair will be
Yeah.
otherwise indisposed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is an
that's fair.
exciting.
Yeah,
So I can reach out to
congratulations.
schedule once we know from the auditors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I'll make sure that he's here.
okay.
And then we can cancel the November meeting, is that correct?
Okay.
All right.
So we'll take that and we'll
Yes.
get back to you with dates and confirm that.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
So with that, then we do have executive session.
Into executive session to discuss semi-annual review of executive session meeting minutes, to discuss collective bargaining matters, and to discuss pending litigation matters.
I'll make a motion to executive session.
For an open session pursuant to 5 ALCS 122C 21 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, no less than semi-annually, a public body must meet to review minutes of all closed session meeting minutes. The presented executive session meeting minutes from the board meetings listed have been reviewed and decided that the executive session meeting minutes may not be made for public inspection. RMTD recommends the need for confidentiality still exists to the presented executive session meeting minutes and therefore should not be made available for public inspection. RMTD staff is requesting the RMTD board approve to keep the presented executive session meeting minutes confidential.
I'll make a motion to keep the executive meeting minutes listed above confidential.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just a motion to adjourn, right?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.